Hey Caitlin, alright, so here is your Starseed reading, the layout, the spread. So usually we have a time card here, it's like a time card, but we're gonna put that away because that really doesn't matter when we're not on Earth, even though some of these readings we do get Earth-bound ET kind of things. So this does not feel like we are on Earth, this feels off planet, and so what we're gonna do is look at where you are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with relationships and feelings involved, another important day with relations and feelings, a death, and lesson learned. And all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are already coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and your current life. And I'll help however I can. Just keep in mind that there are a couple of ways to make connections. There's direct and opposite ways. So direct means that you can directly connect or resonate with what comes through here. Opposite is when, let's say sometimes we get someone who dies of smoking in another life and they come back and they can't stand the smell of smoke or be around it, or they're allergic, you see what I mean? So our souls like to experience different things, so you might be making opposite connections throughout. So just keep that in mind. And remember, you have to connect and resonate, and what you don't connect with or resonate with, you just tuck in the back of your mind for a later time because stuff comes up in the weeks, months, year later kind of thing. Alright, so what I want to say right away, the impressions coming through, is it feels like we're looking at what we would consider to be a feminine energy. So wherever we're going, it does feel like there is there's going to be like feminine, masculine kind of energies where that's not always the case. But this feels distinctly feminine, female energy. And there's something about this, the image coming through of what this being looks like. It feels like very pale, very white, but white light. Feels like we're looking at something that is like mostly physical, but almost like there are particles of light that are coming off of the skin. So it's almost like these are beings of light, or what I would actually want to say feels like how we would consider, like I'm sure you've heard of like ascension, right? Ascension. So as we move up in the dimensions, we become more light beings. This feels like we're looking at someone who is a light, like a very, we'll say very highly ascended, so that it's mostly physical, but it's like literally there is like beautiful, sparkling, illuminated light, glowing light emitting from the body. And this is the people there as well. Now, where we are going, by the way, so this is always the card that's laid out for Starseed readings. It's the Atlantis, Lemuria, Legendary Places, Otherworldly, Off-World, Non-Earth, whatever kind of card. But distinctly what they were showing me, and I just want to grab, because I didn't have time to grab. So they were showing me, hold on, I'm just getting, notebook, here we go. Okay. Alright, so they were showing me that we're going into a universe, and it literally felt like, this is what I was saying was a spiraling universe or galaxy, I want to say, like it's a spiraling galaxy. I think a lot of them are spiraling, if not all of them, but there's something spiraling about this in the way that it feels like during the shuffling and stuff, I needed to draw this for you so that, I hope you can see this, yeah, so that if you are not into sacred geometry yet, go look up sacred geometry. But it's not just sacred geometry, it's specifically the curve and spiral. So what's coming to mind is, what's the thing where it's this thing? It's like the 3.14, is that pi, right? So it's like the thing in nature on planet Earth where everything is this equation, and but it's a spiral. And I want to say, if you have any connection to this at all, this pertains to the Starseed connection. This could be the kind of thing where if you doodle and you doodle spirals of any kind, if you even like what's coming through is like if you have ever had a thing about snails because of the shell, like those specific snails that have that shell, I want to say also there's a Reiki symbol, I should know this, but it's like this. So there is healing qualities with this shape. And I also want to say what comes through is the idea that if you've ever heard of automatic writing, or channeling, so if you are into channeling or if you want to get into channeling, if you do this on paper, as you're beginning to meditate at whatever pace. Doesn't matter if it's slow but I feel like this is going to put you in a trance state, in a very aligned, flowing trance state for you that will bring forward information and downloads if you just zone out as you are spiraling, okay? So it's interesting because as I'm saying spiraling, a lot of people when you say, oh, you're spiraling, like you're spiraling out of your mind, out of sorts, out of blah, blah, blah. But this is about spiraling into alignment. I also, last thing I'm going to bring up about this spiral thing is the idea of a labyrinth. Look up labyrinth. There are labyrinths that you walk, and it's a spiral. These labyrinths a lot of times are like spirals, and you walk towards the center. There's something about this that can help you in developing any abilities that you're aware of, tuning into your higher self, alignment, I want to say connecting to your starseed aspect, as well as what I feel like are starseed family energies that are helping guide you and or waiting to communicate with you. That's what this feels like. So keep that in mind and see how that connects with you. But there's something about the spiral, even the idea of like even like a necklace on like a charm of a spiral on a necklace. This also has to do with like if you are drawn to the ocean or like whirlpools, if those have ever been interesting to you, as well as tornadoes and hurricanes. Quite frankly, just the pattern of spiraling, and also that it is Mother Nature kind of thing. If that has ever pulled at you, fascinated you, connected with you in any way, it has to do with this, and I feel like it is the form of the galaxy that we're going into. And I also want to say that what they're showing me is you, as the being I was talking about, by the way, there's a movement there that has to do with spiraling that feels like what we would call dance. Like it would be like a kind of dance. So even if you go and look up dances that it has to do with spiraling or twirling or the circling kind of thing, if you've ever been drawn to that kind of dance, just moving in a circle kind of thing, in any way. I know there's a lot of dances like that, so you know, however you can connect with that. Again, if you don't connect, that's fine, tuck it in the back of your mind for a later time. Now, how you might connect with this also could be that if you, it's either one, you love to dance, you feel pulled to dance, maybe your dance, when you dance, it's not so much about form, but about movement from the heart space, and it might be very, I want to say more like, what is this, graceful, curvy. In fact, the whole spiral thing, I want to say there's something about like where you might even favor patterns in clothing. It might be more like loopy, curvy, flowy, rather than sharp, jagged. Like even like, oh, I want a roundhouse versus like an angular house. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So just keep that in mind. There is something about the spiral and the curve that is good for you. Not just good for you. I mean, like you can use it. You can use it like you can use sacred geometry, and specifically for you because of where we're going and where you're coming from here. Okay, so. How you might connect with this also is the idea of how you feel about when you've heard about like ascending into a light form. If you've ever been pulled towards the concept of light forms, light beings. If you've ever been going to sleep or dreamed about being visited by a light being, it could be looking like a humanoid but light. This specifically is white light, specifically like crystalline and white light, glowing, illuminating, beautiful. Feels like source light. This can also be, by the way, if you connect with that, you might want to sit and meditate and imagine yourself connecting with that light, because that light might be the color light that you can use in your development, or if you are into self-healing. If you've ever been considering getting into healing modalities, it could be, I want to say there's something that you would be a master on a soul level utilizing the white light. So look into that or feel that out, however that might be. But it's about using the light with movement specifically. Like, so they're showing me your aspect here, this woman, and it feels like she's like has her arms out and she is kind of like twirling, and there's a lot of joy and like abundance in the movement itself, almost like this movement brings abundance. It's almost like, I want to say, try that. Like, try being in a trance state, moving in almost like almost like when you spin, you gather energy. That might be a way that you can gather energy, but then again, it could just be the drawing of it that gathers the energy. There's something, it's very specific. I know I'm repeating myself, and when I repeat myself, there's something about it. So I'll just leave you with that. Now, this can also be tapping into a feminine aspect of you in the case that, for example, in your current life, you might have grown up a tomboy, been more in tune with your masculine energy. And if that's the case, that would be just because your soul wants to experience a more masculine structure on an energetic level than here, because this is very feminine, even though I wouldn't say like, oh, not balanced. I'm not saying that. It's just that the focus is on the feminine, and like, it's feminine in like a girlish way, you know what I mean? Like a woman girlish way. Like, it's not like, it is empowering, but it's not like what do you want to call, what, it's not like, oh, a vixen, that feminine energy that's like a sexual power. This is like not dainty, but it's gentle femininity kind of energy here. So in your current life, either one, direct connection would be if you are really in tune with that feminine power, and likely you are, if that's the case, if you're still like doing that feminine energy, some feminine power thing, it could be as a human that you are turning the volume up on that in the sense of incorporating feminine aspects that are not so, I want to say, what we would consider like innocent, you know what I mean? Like more sensual feminine aspects. That could be what you are supposed to be experiencing in this life. If you find that in your current life you have a high sex drive, or are interested in like tantric sex or sensuality, is that kind of thing on a feminine level kind of thing, because here it doesn't feel like, it's not like, it feels like it's not tapping into that. It's more tapping into the flowy, like the flowy, light, gentle, kind of passive feminine energy, if that makes sense. So the opposite would be if you came back to what's called enjoy the masculine energies that I feel like are not played with much in this aspect. So that could be a purpose why you're back here, is to like play with, you know, what is it, masculine we would consider more aggressive, outgoing, extroverted, maybe even like stubborn, or none of those are bad. So just however you might connect with that. Okay, so what else? I think, let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this like first card, and then we're gonna go into this card, but I feel like what we're leaning in with this card, this is the teacher card. So this is what you did with the majority of your time, and when they showed me the aspect of you here, she's already grown, or what we would consider grown. I don't know how their ages are wherever we are going. I kind of want to be quiet for a second and see if there's like a name that can come up in any sense. Okay, so the only thing coming through is something that starts with U-R-A, like a Ura, but it's more than that. Ura. It's like, I want to say like Europa, but it's, you know, this does not feel earthly. If there is any sense of earthliness to this, it would be a very, very ascended earth. So if you've ever looked into the theory of the New Earth theory, look it up, see how you feel about that, but this does not feel like Earth. This feels like a parallel. This does feel like a planet that would be what we would consider, I want to say, idyllic, like an idyllic Earth, clean, you know, lush kind of thing, taken care of properly. Something coming to mind about less dualism there, in the sense of like how here there's like equal amount of love and hate. So you might, if you find that you are very highly aware of the dualism in life, or if it's coming into your vicinity of awareness, like your reality, where you're very aware that as much as low as you can get is as high as you can feel, right? That kind of thing. That's dualism, right? So if you have experienced that in your life, almost like you may have experienced like a very abusive relationship and then found the most incredible loving relationship, that kind of thing. So if you've come across instances that have showcased itself to you in the way of dualism in that way, that I feel is to experience, because here it feels like it is a more gentle, idyllic, flowing state of reality where they don't have to put up with such, I want to say, like sharp dissonance between the highs and the lows. So if you find that in your current life you're very sensitive to that, either one, you come across it a lot, like it presents itself to you, these dualistic circumstances present themselves to you throughout your life that you're aware of, or it would be like you're very sensitive to it, so when it happens, you might be a highly emotional or sensitive person to it, where you feel like it affects you so much more than you might see other people be affected, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that would just tell you that that's part of your human experience, and if you were to perceive and observe it as, oh, this is my human experience, this is part of it, because in my original state, back in whatever, I didn't get to experience such vast dissonance. So here, I am here to experience that contrast. And if you're able to observe it in that way, it lessens the, I want to say the harshness or the blow or the sensitivity of it. So it makes it more feasible, like you can handle it better. Just in case you are someone who gets overwhelmed easily by what life can throw at you, kind of thing. Now, the other thing, the direct connection would be that you are able to handle a lot with a lot of flow, because this aspect is very flowy. But I also want to say that if you find yourself getting overwhelmed, where you feel like, okay, this is kind of getting a little bit unmanageable here, I feel like the spiral stuff is going to help. I don't know why, but I feel like if you start drawing the spirals when you need, if like you have anxiety or something going on, I feel like, I want to say, start drawing spirals and then pretend you're like, put your consciousness, like your energy, as though you're like riding the spirals, like riding, riding, like as you're drawing them, you're also riding along the spiral and just kind of looping along. I feel like that is something they want me to give you as a coping mechanism, or a mechanism that will put you into a state of mind that is in the flow state and in alignment, if that makes sense. So just bear with me. But the teacher card comes in because I feel like you are someone that is teaching the dance movement with the sacred geometry flow and the light. And I want to say, as you teach, what you're teaching is how to harness your energy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just say like chi. It's like how to harness the chi through movement in order to, I want to say, create a funnel of power. And this does something. Like, this funnel of power is like, it's the source of energy. I feel like it's something having to do with this Kree's healing. I almost want to say that if you were to do this and just pretend, at least, just try, just like have fun with it and try to do this, and imagine like the light gathering as you circle and as you gather with intention, like a funnel of white light energy, and put the funnel on someone that wants healing, even like an animal, like just like test it out and see what happens. Like, no expectation, but just see what happens, you know? That might be very interesting to play with. I feel like you're supposed to be playing with that. So just in case you were wondering, where do my gifts lie? What should I try? This feels like it can be a very interesting and unique modality for you. Now, if you come across someone that does something like this in your life, it's very likely that person comes from the same place as you, and you are meant to meet to learn from or share information with. So just keep that in mind as well. That's what it feels like. This teacher card can also be that in your current life you might be a teacher, or you might enjoy teaching, or you might be the person that people come to in order to have things explained to them, like very basic things that you think they should know and you just happen to know, or even things that you might not have known you know and you just can explain things very well. Because this feels like when you are in a state of helping someone learn something, it is a flow state for you, specifically like because of this, like how this aspect of you is in a flow state, teaching the flow. This aspect of you is teaching the flow state. So not only are you teaching it, but you're in it in order to teach it. The only way you can teach it is like walking your talk kind of thing, you know, that kind of thing. So if you find yourself explaining or teaching something where you feel like, how did I learn this, or how do I know this so well, or, you know, the knowledge just comes to you, it's because you already know it, because you are, like, your soul is already in a flow state. So it like came to earth to be a human from the flow state. So you're already in the flow state. You just have to recognize it. You just have to like kind of say it, like, oh yeah, I'm already in the flow state. That's right. I'm just a human, so I might not be able to like feel it or experience it in this moment, but my soul is already there. And that will empower you in a big way. That will be very helpful. Anyway, keep making connections where you can with this. We're going to go to the first important day here. So this is the war card, and it's either war is coming or it's here, or just finished kind of thing, but war is around. And then here is a family card, And family is not always blood, because we can make family from friends and people around us, our community, and that's what this feels like. It feels like community. And this is the light of love card, okay? So we're putting the war with this community and the light of love, okay. Okay. So first of all, I want to say, if you have any connection when it comes to war, like when you hear about war, read about war, and it doesn't have to be war, it could be people fighting or factions fighting, you could be very sensitive to that. On the other hand as well, or I should say and/or, you could be someone that would be an excellent mediator in order to bring the peace together, whether it's your own family fighting, friends fighting. If you find that you are the person that is able to kind of bring both sides together and get back into that flow state kind of thing, this can also be the kind of thing, if you're wondering, like, let's say you want to change careers, or you want a new hobby, or like do something meaningful in your life, like, not that you don't, but something else, like, some people are like, I should volunteer, like that kind of thing. Look into mediating just from this, and I'll explain in a second, but like, it just feels like you would be a really good mediator in some way. So however you might connect with mediation, how that has played in your life at all, it can just simply be a friend coming to tell you, a bad day and needing your advice, and you get them back on track, like that kind of thing, like, but what this feels like is, it does not feel like a war. Like, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like there is war on this planet where we are here, because it feels like, again, that the duality and dissonance is not as, it's more subtle, we'll say. Here it's subtle. So where we have war on planet Earth, like hardcore war, here it would be like fragments of the community in dispute with each other, and it would be considered like maybe being uncivil with each other by saying something mean. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's way more subtle, but because that's all there is here, that's also to them a big deal. So what's coming through is about putting things into perspective, and everything is relative. Like, that's the message coming through, is the idea, like, what might be a really big deal to you might seem like nothing to someone else who has gone through something way harsher, and vice versa. So what we're looking at is perspective, and also the idea of observing rather than, I want to say, there's something about like a message of, be aware of what you might be holding on to as something that was such a, I want to say, as something that was a really big deal to you, that you kind of like keep as part of you. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, oh, well, I learned my lesson from that and I'm never going to forget. And that's great. Learn the lesson, but then detach from the situation or thing or person that taught you the lesson. I guess what I mean is, like, bring the lesson into your life, but don't replay, don't hold on to and replay the situation or person, whatever it was, relationship that made it happen. Just almost like, I want to say, it's like, God, it's kind of interesting, because in the same vein, it's like you're supposed to be teaching as well. So you can teach others from what you have learned, but when you're teaching others, you don't have to relive the instance that taught you the lesson. You just have to trust that you know the lesson and to move forward, because it's going to be so much easier on your soul, and it will help you, I want to say, get into that flow ascension state way more. I don't want to say quicker, because your pace is perfect. Everyone's pace is exactly where it's supposed to be. So it's not about a race. It's not about getting ahead of the game, but it'll be easier on your emotions and your mentality if you are aware of when you are holding on to the situation that brought about a big change in your life, that taught you something that you needed to know and that helps you. But you need to let go of the situation, because it was very painful, and there's reliving it is not how this aspect of you works. This is not what they do. They do not relive painful memories to remember the lesson. They just take the lesson and then release the memory. That's what this is. Okay, so if anything comes to mind when I say that, that's the memory that you need to release. A lot of time, like, it feels like it could be a relationship, or it can be a situation where you felt, I want to say, either embarrassed or humiliated, or made to feel lesser than. And I want to say that it could be that it was so very humbling or impactful, because this aspect, again, there was not as much harshness in this place than there is on Earth with humans. Okay? So however you connect with that. If you don't connect, that's fine. Tuck in the back of your mind. Something might come up later, a memory, whatever it might be. But your job is to be aware of the instances when there is a lesson that you've learned and you remember the lesson, but you do not dwell in the memory of what taught you the lesson. Let go of the memory. So this is also about living presently and trusting your present version of yourself, that it is going exactly as planned, that you are on your path, and to let go of the past memory. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I start repeating myself, and I know it means something when I start repeating myself, so I'll stop now. But letting go of the memory. So there's that, and then there is, but I actually want to get into this. So we did talk about community. So what's happening here is there are fragments of the community that are in dissonance with each other, and I want to say there is not violence here. So violent, like real violence. So what I want to say is you might be very sensitive to violence if you find that. The direct connection would be that if you find that even watching movies where there is graphic stuff, gore, blood, people hurting each other, or if you read the news, if it's very hard for you to take that, when news of people, even like violent, the protesting, if these things that are happening around the world where there is violence, if that is triggering you, like obviously it triggers a lot of people, I get it, but if it is triggering you on a like core level, it would be a connection to this place where violence is not an option. Like, that's just not what they do. What they do here, though, is passive aggressiveness. And I want to say passive aggressiveness here is the second worst thing. And the worst thing they do is blatant, what's it called when you are mean to someone? God, words. When you just attack someone verbally, and you know what I'm saying. So basically, like, the worst thing they can do is be mean to someone directly with verbally mean to someone directly, or like hurt someone's feelings on purpose indirectly. And then the second thing would be passive aggressive. So how you might connect with this is if you are passive aggressive, not just passive aggressive, if you are a master of passive aggressiveness and or a master at understanding and spotting passive aggressiveness. And how this could have happened is if you chose to be born into a family that is passive aggressive by nature, or a community passive aggressive by nature, that would be your soul going where it's comfortable because it can understand it. It might not like it. It might actually be very offended by it, and you might be very sensitive by it, and even traumatized by a family that was passive aggressive. But you can recognize it, and you know how to deal with it, and it could have actually made it where you came out of it and you help people who are traumatized by their own family dysfunction on that level. Like, you might be a therapist, and if you're not, you might be very good at counseling or therapy in that way. Especially, I want to say, adult children, that kind of thing. So just consider that as well, and however that might connect with you. So in this community, I'm trying to see what is going on exactly. Because this love card is an ultimate goal for everyone. That's the thing about this. Even if people are not getting their way and they're frustrated and they're pulling the old passive aggressive card, or even purely aggressive with their verbal whatever, everybody wants the outcome to be peace and like a loving state of being. That's what's different here on Earth, is people want to win. Here, it's not about winning, or I should say, it's about winning, but winning is getting back to a state of love, like a base state of love and respect. That's very different here on Earth. That might be very triggering to you. That might be the kind of thing where you just do not understand why people are like that, or why the world is like that, or why people throw people under the bus just to get ahead. That might be very triggering and confusing to you. And if that is the case, if you connect like that, it's because this is where you come from, and the concept of someone throwing someone under the bus just to win could be very foreign to your soul. But at the same time, what I want to say about that, if you connect, is you did come here to experience it so that you can understand it. It doesn't, now, if this is the case and you are aware of this, what this means for you is a big thing. This means, just like really anything we talk about in this way, this means that if you're aware that you're here to learn these certain things and experience it, it also means that you don't have to get caught up in it. It means that you are able to come at it from a higher mind perspective, now knowing the truth of why it might trigger you or why you're in the situation in the first place, and remove yourself from it and simply observe it rather than getting wrapped up and getting your human emotions all tied into a situation that feels like you are invested in it. You do not have to invest in melodramatic situations or in situations where there is passive aggressiveness towards you or anything that we're talking about here. It's a message to let you know how to get out of it. And you can simply do that by choosing. And you choose to acknowledge and become aware of what's happening when it's happening. So that way you can just step away from it. Just pull out from it. Like that kind of thing. Like you have that power. The best way I want to say, it feels like it's like the message would be, remember who you are here. Remember this person, this aspect of you, this light being. Remember who you are and that you came here to understand this human experience in this way that you can't on this planet here, because they simply do not have the violence that we have here. And so if you remember who you are and where you come from and the reason why you're here, at least this is one of the reasons, then you're able to step out of it. And that is a very empowering position to be in. And in that position, you can help others step out of it. And in fact, I feel like that's actually part of the purpose with this teacher card too, is to help others remove themselves from toxic situations. You could be the person that helps people get out of toxic situations with your perspective, from a higher perspective, now that you're aware, if that makes sense. Maybe you're already doing it. But even if you find that you're already doing it, like even just for friends, which is not just anything, that's amazing, but even if it's just for people that in your individual life on a non-professional level, and if you notice this has been happening in your life where you help people kind of see from a different perspective and step away from, we'll say, a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend or a toxic family member or a toxic environment, that kind of thing, you can tune it up or turn it up and I want to say shift into a professional mode and do it professionally. If that connects with you. I'm just saying that's what this feels like, is what I'm saying, is that's the energy here, that you have that capability, just FYI. And it would be lucrative, I feel. But yes, so if you are someone also that feels like, why can't we just all get along? Why can't we just have peace? Why can't we just all love each other? Like that kind of thing, it's because of this too. Everybody wants the outcome to be back to love, a loving base, not winners versus losers. So actually you might be someone that is very triggered by the political states in the world. You might be someone that just absolutely hates politics, or you might get really wrapped up in it because you just can't stand it. Like it's just boggles your mind so much and you just want justice, and so you might actually pay attention to it when really, again, step away if it's getting you all riled up, because it feels like it would serve you the best to do what it takes to always come back to the flow state for you, for your own manifestation, your own abundance, everything. And this can also be what is going to help you win in life, win in a way that you consider winning, is always make your decisions coming from the heart in a love-based place. And be aware when it's coming from an ego-based place, because that's your human self wanting to experience a human place of, I want to say, a human place of coming from. And that's okay too. So basically we're looking at this whole thing of not judging yourself, and that can even get you back in the flow state. Even if you have an ego on you, which we all do, we're human. If you don't judge yourself, be aware of it and do your best to come from a heart-based place rather than the ego. But just being aware of it, not judging yourself, and being kind to yourself throughout all these human experiences is going to be very helpful and will bring you back to the flow state that much easier, okay? So anyway, keep making connections where you can with this day. And in case you're wondering, this place has the architecture of this place, what they're showing me for a community center is, again, it's round. It's a very large, round building, and it feels like, okay, so it feels like a large, round building. Everything in this place, by the way, is like a light colored palette, almost I want to say pastel. So either one, you can really love pastels, or two, you can despise it because you are so used to it here that in this life you're just like, give me neon and give me stark colors, and you know what I mean? But it feels pastel, okay? So it feels like that kind of thing. Anyway, large round building, and let's say it's like multiple stories, but not super tall, just like 2 or 3 stories, right? It's going, there's a spiral, like ramp like thing that goes up and around it, and there is like there's a lot of nature in this place, and it's very clean. So if you're someone that likes to have hanging plants, that's what this feels like. Or if you're like someone that likes to have a tree inside, or if you like the aesthetic of indoor outdoor, almost like I want to say utilizing a large window to make it feel like you're bringing the outdoors inside, or vice versa, even like having like outdoor furniture inside or something like that, because it feels like there's a lot of indoor outdoor, like courtyardish, very pretty kind of thing. So if you've ever had a pull towards that aesthetic, that would be a direct connection. If you have a different aesthetic, it's because you just want to experience something different than this life here. But also please keep in mind, this is not your only starseed life. Like, when I say starseed life, I mean non-human. Completely not your only non-human life. This is just the one that's coming up that's most relevant for you at this time. Do you know what I mean? So just please keep that in mind. You are not limited to this one life outside of planet Earth. So yeah, keep making connections where you can. We're going to the next important day. So this here is the marriage card. This is the soulmate card, which is awesome. And then we have betrayed. Okay, so the betrayed card, right away, what I want to say is this does not have to do with this life. The betrayed card, I feel like, is just coming through very much in this current life, on your human life. In the case that you might see, I want to say you might be very sensitive in relationships when it comes to either one, like assurance, reassurance, being told, like making sure. I want to say almost like if you are someone that reads into or overanalyzes your partner's expressions of words or the face, gestures, or lack thereof, this would be, if you connect with that, this would be a message for you to be aware that it would be best if you do not do that so much. Almost like, and again, it's not like, don't judge yourself, but like, if you are someone that you find, and maybe this is how you used to be, or it might be how you are, whatever it is, if you connect with this, if you find yourself reading into your partner's expression in a way where it doesn't feel good, almost like you're sure you'll find something, or some, you know what I mean, like something like that, this would just be a message that relationships on Earth are so different than they feel here. Again, here it feels very graceful and loving and kind. And it feels like, it just feels very easy here. So it could be that you came back or came to the human life to experience something that's not so easy, we'll say. But it doesn't mean abusive relationship. It could. But it doesn't mean that. It just means that on an emotional level, it would probably be like a roller coaster for you to go through a relationship with someone who is not in tune or aligned with their spirituality. Okay? I'm not saying you need to be with a starseed. It's helpful, especially if they're aware of it. But this is saying that your best match is going to be with someone who has had to go through a lot of healing already, and that you don't need to be part of that major healing, just the after, the how the rest of the life is after the major healing is what it feels like. So let's say if you're in a relationship right now and it's going great, it could be because that person gives you all of the reassurance and love that you need, and they're either working on themselves or they've already done a huge chunk of work that is like the main chunk of work that they needed to do on an emotional, mental, spiritual level. Or if you're in a relationship and it's not going great, it's likely because you might be, feeling like they're not giving you the reassurance or the love that you need, like the form, expression of love or reassurance that you need. It doesn't mean you're needy. Don't label yourself as needy if you feel like you're always wanting reassurance or love. It's okay. Here, you never have to question it. So as a human, because it comes so easily for all mates to constantly give, pay attention, be present, be loving. Here, human relationships are so different. Of course, it would be very normal for you to feel like you have to scramble and need to know if everything is okay or whatever it might be. And we call these people empaths here. So if you've labeled yourself empath by any chance, especially in relationships, there you go. But if you're in a relationship and it's not going great, it would likely be because you are helping that person through healing when they need to be doing it themselves, that they're not giving you what you need on that level of reassurance and love, because they're not fully, but they're not healed enough on their own in order to give what you need to you, if that makes sense. If you're not in a relationship, you're looking for someone who has done the majority of the healing that they need, and who can innately understand how to give reassurance and love to you, who understands also and does not make fun of the label of empath or may be one themselves, as well as someone who might be very into spirituality on a certain level, right? So just keep that in mind, and that will be very helpful and allow for a more flowing state of a relationship. And again, this is only if you connect with this. If you don't right now, just tuck in the back of your mind for a later time. But here I'm trying to see, I want to see what this person, so what this looks like to me is they're placing a golden-headed person, which I feel like is you, next to a bronze-headed person, which is the mate. Because I don't know how they are in this place. I don't know if it's always male, female, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But the mate is bronze-headed, so like it's like a darker golden brown, and the light one, this feels like you, like the gold, like it's like a light gold. They're showing me at a ceremony. It looks very futuristic in the sense that, okay, futuristic, yes, but it's like almost like the weddings that you see in like sci-fi movies like Star Wars or something, where everything is like white and trimmed with like gold or silver, where it's like very clean lines is what this feels like. And there's also a sparkliness to the air, like a glowing, illuminated sparkliness, which I feel like is the source light that runs through everyone, and even the planet. And it feels like you're so in tune with the light that on special occasions, like a ceremony of union, it feels like the planet celebrates by bringing the light to the place of the union. Almost like a celebratory light show is what it feels like. So if you're someone that loves fireworks, or you love lights, like how, how when it's dusk and the neon lights come on in the evening, if that just touches you, like if it moves you, if it's beautiful to you, sunset, sunrise, the colors in the sky, the natural colors of just like when the sun hits the water and it dazzles the water and it sparkles. Are you someone that is caught by the light whenever you see a beautiful light, if that makes sense? So if you're just a light person, again, it could be fireworks, it could be a candle, a flame, if you find such beauty in the light, that would be a direct connection. And if not, that's totally fine, but that's just what's coming through as well. It's also coming through in a way, though, if you want to connect with this aspect of you, which you totally can with intention and thought, you can also connect on a deeper level, I want to say, with this community even, or this partner as well, which this partner is either, you might know this person in this current life, you might come back again with each other. It feels very like a very close union here. It's a way to connect through the light. You can connect here through light. You just have to, know, like you have to, it feels like remember it. And then like when you spot the light, like let's say it is let's say it's the light on the water, okay? How it sparkles. If you allow yourself to give yourself over to the feel of what it's like, almost like become the same as the sparkles on the water. Like pretend you are them and they are you, and you merge. It almost, like I want to say, feels like it acts like a portal for you. So your portal of consciousness, for your consciousness, at the very least, to return here and connect with this aspect of you and these people and these beings, your portal is through light, okay? And that can be even through your imagination, utilizing your mind's eye by imagining the source light here that comes to mind when we talk about this. So that's interesting. But yes, okay. So there you go. So there's that. That's really neat. We're gonna go to the death, but I feel like there's one more thing. Hold on. Yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, so the death card. So this is the accident card. And in the accident card, it's interesting because it doesn't feel, hold on. See, a lot of times it's, death is not surprising, we'll say, when it comes to non-human folk. Because a lot of times they choose it based on their, like, energy level, we'll say. So I'm just trying to see what's happening here. Because it doesn't feel... Okay, alright. So what this is... So this aspect chose to come to... You chose human, like you knew you would be transferring to human, but the only thing about it that you were unaware of, that it's like they're unaware of it until it happens, is getting caught in the human karmic cycle. And you might already have heard about this or know about this, where you come to Earth and then you get caught up in the karmic cycle that keeps you coming back as a human until you learn, like, okay, I'm not gonna do karma anymore. This can indicate in your current life, if you do not want to get married, or if you do not want kids, or you don't want to do something that would form a karmic bond in this current life, it could be your soul knowing that it's ready to go back, like it's ready to do the non-human thing, and it's trying to not form any more karma. However, we're learning that even if you do like have these karmic bonds, you're able to release them and let go of them now as your awareness and consciousness expands and grows and levels up. So if you have had any thoughts where you're like, I'm done with this human thing, not happening again, no. If you have had any thoughts like that, by the way, it's because when you left this aspect on a physical level, you're still connected energetically. When you left on a physical level, you didn't expect to be gone so long. That's the accident, that's the mistake. You did not expect to be gone so long. And I feel like this is being shown to you because you're gonna have the option to go back or do the non-human thing after this life, if you want. That's what this is. So that's all it's bringing up. It's like, hey, you didn't know before, but now you do. Your soul's aware of it, and you have the tools that you need in order to come back home here, which is a really lovely feeling. This is really lovely. This is a power card for you. This is you understanding that you have the control now because of your awareness. The more you are in understanding of yourself on an emotional and mental level, the more aware you are of yourself and your emotions and everything that makes you who you are, the more control and power you have. So that's why it's so important to be in tune with everything about you and to not, I want to say, not deny things, not ignore things, not hate things, but just accept, observe, love. And that's self-awareness, and that's leveling up. All right, so anyway, there you go. It doesn't show the death because it's not important. When it doesn't show it, it's just not important. It wasn't painful, it wasn't bad or anything like that. The lesson. This is the work all night, work all day card. This lesson is showing you in this current life how what you do for the majority of your time or your career, whatever it might be, it does not have to be grueling. It should not be grueling. Here, she danced and she taught and she was in flow state. The majority of your time in this life, you need to, if you haven't already begun, to start to make it so that you are mostly in a state of joy and flow for the majority of your day. Do what it takes, take baby steps, do what you gotta do. Because being more in the flow state is bringing you closer to your I want to say this aspect, this energy, and that's where you want to be. And because there's a lot of abundance and manifestation in this. And you might have been working very hard your whole life, but that's not now. Like, I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying this card is coming up because now is a time to understand that work should not have to be grueling. Work should not have to be work. It should be approached with a sense, more than not, of play and joy. Even though there's always going to be technical stuff you have to do, like, you know, pay an overhead for a business or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like, all the technical businessy stuff, fine. But the majority of what you do for work should be more enjoyment and less grueling. Less thoughts of, oh, I have to wake up and do this. More thoughts of, I get to wake up and do this. You know what I mean? So, let's see if there's one more thing about this work card. Work card. Honestly, the work card could be coming up because it is time. If you have been considering a transition in career, job, whatever it might be, even the environment, then this would be an affirmation card of like, okay, well, you're getting the clues that you need in regards to where in your life you need to transition or shift something in order to work towards your goals of whatever it is that you want most out of life, whether it's abundance, manifestation, whatever you want. This would be the card of, if you're getting a feeling of needing to change things in your life, it could be work, career, but then again, you know, it could be like how you have structured your friend life or family life kind of thing. If that is becoming more like grueling or more like, I don't want to see them today, or I don't want to do this, like that kind of thing, that is also an indicator. That's your intuition that's saying, this is not making you happy. You can say no. You can shift, you can change. Every moment, every day is an opportunity to change. And don't let anyone outside of you keep you from changing. That would be very limiting. So just trust what's inside of you, because you're already a very ascended being here. This is a very ascended being. You have to trust that that is part of you. It is part of you. And now you know. So if you trust that, you can tune into inside of you to get the answers and trust what comes through, rather than rely on anything that anyone says outside of you, okay? All right, so anyway, keep making connections where you can with the work card, and there is your Starseed life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections here, and thanks for letting me read you.